of this literature of hadith which was transmitted verbatim. And that portion could be looked at to help you understand the meanings of the Quran words. I'm not saying that's an authentic, ultimate source to understand the meaning of the Quran word. No, it will help you. It will help you. You read Quran, you stuck at the meaning of one word, you reviewed the other places in the Quran where that word is used, you tried to reach a meaning, then you supplemented that information with the literature of the Arab printed at that time, looked in all of different places, and then you read a hadith in which that word was also used in a specific context. And it does go along with however you have defined that word. Then you may say, yeah, sure, this also supplements that information. But you can't use hadith as the primary language. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? All right. So it's not possible to transmit hadith verbatim. Does it make sense, Dani? You cannot transmit hadith verbatim. So for example, I have given this example of verbatim. If somebody says, if you hear me saying this and then you go out and say this, he said, I really enjoy eating Brussels sprouts, broccoli, spinach and cauliflower. Maybe you hear this, me saying this, and you go outside and you say, he said, I really like eating green vegetables. Or he said he loves eating green food. You transmitted the gist, isn't it? The meaning is correct, but the words are not the same. And the language is formed by the words, okay? All right, okay. Now, a funny example of verbatim these days is transcription. So, when you're trying to dictate something by the soft Siri, ask Siri, write something, and then it totally butchers it. But let's say it doesn't and it writes it exactly the same way, that will be an example of verbatim transmission. Another is court. When judges sit and lawyers present and there are these witnesses, there's a transcriber in the court who writes exactly what he's listening to. And that is something you can see if you want to read this. Okay. So I'm just going to move forward here because I have talked about this. Yet, whatever portion we have of it is of a great treasure to the student of this language. It doesn't mean we totally dismiss the resource of hadith. It's an amazing and very valuable resource of information. But you can't necessarily use it as an ultimate proof to prove the meaning of something. All right. This is the language of the Prophet ﷺ, whose eloquence is matchless, and that of his companion radiallahu ta'ala anhu, who spoke in this diction. Its words and idioms and styles and construction are the best example of the language in which Quran was revealed. We are talking about hadith. When transmitting hadith and asar, people did try to keep that style. And so they have tried their best to transmit it. It's just that we cannot say for sure because these are isolated reports. Now, I'll end on this note, and that is, people in Arab were extremely sensitive about their language. They're very sensitive. So when kids were born, they would send them to these small towns, tribes where they would learn the purest language. People from subcontinent India can understand this a little bit. Is just a century and a half ago, there was this, actually he was born in 1700s and later died in, I think, early 1800s. There was Mir Taqi Mir, a famous poet in Indian subcontinent. And he was traveling by a horse cart. And so he was sitting in the back and he had a company with somebody else. And Mir Taqi Mir was a poet, he was a writer, a very famous writer. And so this other guy started to converse with him. He was like, let's talk about things, how was your day, what were you doing, what do you do? And so he's trying to engage Mir Taqi Mir into a conversation, and Mir Taqi Mir is just not paying attention to him. And so finally, when he gets frustrated, he says, I thought, this is going to be a long journey. We're going to be able to take advantage of each other's company and talk and have conversation. You don't even want to talk. And he says, well, you will be entertained by this conversation, but my language will be ruined. So I don't want to talk to you. Right? So they were so careful about their language. People, for example, in subcontinent, when they would go on vacations to their other places, they wouldn't necessarily take their children with them because they said it will be bad for their language. It would have a bad influence on their language. It's not a problem that you can even identify with today at all, because we come from a different society, we're different in a different society, we speak a different language in the morning, speak a totally different language at night. We don't care about this amalgamation, this mingling, this mixture. But they wanted their language to be very, very pure. And so same was the case in Arab. Same was the case in Arab. They really wanted to be very pure in their language. It was as an asset to them. Then they were very proud of it. And so that's how they wanted to keep it. So any questions so far? Inshallah, we are going to start from the next slide next time. All right, Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much.